Everyone is talking about conference realignment. The Washington Huskies have their focus on the Pac-12 for one more season. The 10 guys that we'll talk about today could push them to the top of the Pac-12, maybe even give them a conference championship. And it's a really exciting group that has a lot of explosive potential. We're going to start with the offense and Cameron Davis. The running back comes back after a 522-yard season. Someone who I believe could be a really important piece to this offense. When you look at what this offense will do, they are going to throw the football around quite a bit. They're going to find a way to get those playmakers the ball out in space. And a guy like Cameron Davis will benefit from that because teams are going to spread things out. Defenses will move guys around to be able to stop the pass. That gives him light boxes to run against. And that should open things up for him and make his life very easy. The defensive side of the ball will face plenty of challenges. Asa Turner comes back for another season of college football. And it'll be tough because of the offenses you'll face in the Pac-12 this year, because of the explosive talent that you'll see on a daily basis. I think that you're looking at a very difficult challenge for the Huskies defense. And Turner is one of those guys that will need to get the secondary up to speed. He's an experienced player with plenty of games under his belt. He's good size too for the next level. It's 6'3", 200 pounds. And that's huge for a defense that has a ton of talent that could be really good. But again, you're facing quite a bit of talent when you look at teams like Oregon, USC, Arizona. Those are teams that will provide plenty of challenges and might make life difficult for you. Fortunately, this defense features, like I said, a number of talented players. Alfonso Tuputala comes back at linebacker. A big season for him last year with 71 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. And again, you're looking at a defense that should be pretty solid. It's just that they face so many talented offenses. You're going to face Caleb Williams this year. You will see Bo Nix. You will see Cam Ward. You will see Jaden Delora. And, it's a conference that it's unfortunate that realignment is happening right now because this conference appears to be growing and suddenly that's getting ripped out from underneath them. But for one more year, we're going to see a really fun conference, a really talented conference, and then a really explosive conference. And Washington will contribute to that, especially on offense. Jalen Polk is the third best receiver on this team, the third option, and he nearly had 700 yards receiving last year, averaged nearly 17 yards per catch. And that's exciting if you're a Huskies fan because you know that the first two options, who we'll talk about in a little bit, can't get too much attention because Polk is someone who can do a ton of damage through the air. He's a player who demands extra attention as well. And when you have three guys that do that, it's tough for a defense to slow you down because there's so many options. And Jalen Polk is one of those guys that will be a fun player to watch for a while now. He comes into his sophomore season and made a big impact last year, and he's hoping to do more of that. And the offense, like I said, they'll do their job. They're going to put points on the board. They will score. They will make life easy for this team. Now the defense has to do their part. And you look at what they have returning, like I said, there's a lot to be excited about. And defensive end is one of those positions that I believe Washington is set. Zion Tupuola Fadui comes back and he recovered from that Achilles injury. I think a lot of people expected him to really take a step back. And his production wasn't what it used to be, but he's still a solid player. He's still an experienced player for this defense and has good size at 6'4", 254 pounds. He will get a lot of favorable matchups because of the other guy on the opposite side, who we'll talk about later. That will be huge. That will present him with a lot of favorable matchups. That will give him a lot of one-on-one matchups, and he gets to showcase what he can do. And maybe that puts him into the NFL draft conversation once again, because when he had his big year 2 years ago, we were talking about him in the NFL draft, maybe as a first round pick. I don't know if those days are still around. I don't know if that's still an option, but I believe that he can put himself back into that NFL draft conversation with another strong year. Another guy that could be in that same category is offensive tackle Troy Fatano. 26 games of experience under his belt. This offensive line plays a huge role for the offense. It's probably the X factor of the offense. Maybe the rushing attack fits in that category too. But this is a passing attack that should be explosive. This is a passing attack that returns a number of elite playmakers that will make life difficult for the defenses they face. And the offensive line will be one of those groups that needs to step up and needs to make sure that this offense continues moving at the pace they need to. We already mentioned one receiver for this offense. Jalen McMillan is back as the wide receiver two option. He is pushing for wide receiver one. It's just that there's, again, so much talent and only so many touches to go around. But you're looking at a guy who did some pretty good damage in 2022. Over 1,000 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. Again, this is a passing attack that will give you a lot of headaches. And like I said before, he is someone that led the team in catches, nearly led the team in receiving yards, and led the team in touchdowns receiving. So this is a guy who's pushing for wide receiver one. Maybe doesn't have the NFL skill set that wide receiver one does, but he is someone who is a nightmare to cover. He is someone who fits well into the scheme. And Kalen DeBoer should be extremely happy with where this passing attack is and where it will go, because this is an offense that, again, nightmarish for a lot of these defenses, and that's huge. That gives this team a chance to compete in a crowded Pac-12. It's a crowded group, and that there are a lot of teams competing for this top spot. The offense probably isn't the one you have to worry about. The defense, even with the talent, is the one that has to step up. And we already talked about one defensive end. Braylon Trice is the other one we've mentioned before. 6'4", 274 pounds. He really came on strong last year, and I think he still has ways to go. Honestly, I think everybody can get better. It's just a matter of how much better you can get. And Braylon Trice is someone who can play himself into the first round and be a first round pick. He is that good. He is that talented, and he is that productive. And that's huge for a defense that the secondary is going to go through a transition. They've gone through multiple transitions over the last handful of years because of the talent they brought in and then send out to the NFL draft. Asa Turner is one of those returners that he needs to get everybody else up to speed. He needs to allow guys time to get with the times and get with the system they're running. But a way to help that is have pressure on the quarterback. Braylon Trice and this front seven will need to do their part, and they should. There shouldn't be any concerns about what this front seven can do. And if they're able to play up to their standard, then the secondary will get more time to figure things out. And maybe they don't have a ton of time at the beginning of this season, but they can at least get a little bit of time early on. And that will help their offense, an offense that features two of the better players at their positions, one of them being Rome Odunze, 6'3", 215 pounds, over 1,100 yards last year, and has a future in the NFL. He's already being talked about in the first round, and it's easy to see why. The size is the first thing that jumps out, and then you look at his ball skills. He is a player that will command a lot of extra attention, and if teams are going to pick one receiver to send help towards, it's going to be Odunze's side. And that opens things up for Polk and McMillan, which is huge. It also opens things up for the running game. Cameron Davis, also Dylan Johnson will benefit from that. And that's a huge for an offense that could use more balance to be more successful this year. And it's not that they have to be balanced, because they could still just throw the ball as much as they want and probably have success. But if they're able to find balance and find that rushing attack to be able to gash teams a little bit more, you're going to create a lot of havoc for defensive side of the ball. You're going to create a lot of frustrations, because if teams can't stop the run and they can't stop the pass, it'll be a long day for them. And throwing the ball, even if teams know they're going to throw the ball, won't be an issue. Now, Michael Penix Jr. comes in to Washington last year, and I don't think anybody saw a 4,600 season coming. I think that you look at his 400 or 4,600 fair to 41 yards, 31 touchdowns. He is a player who we saw some excitement at Indiana, but I don't know if anybody thought this dude's going to throw for over 4,600 yards. This is an elite playmaker. We knew he had the arm talent. You've seen the arm strength, and this is someone who can zip it. I really like what he can do. I really like the talent they have coming back, and pair him with Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer has proven that he can create explosive offenses, and this is arguably his best one yet. It's just a matter of repeating that success now that teams know what you can do, because I think a lot of people expected Washington to take a step back, and they took a tremendous step forward. Now you don't get the benefit of surprising people. You don't get to sneak up on anyone. People know what you're trying to do. Teams know what you're doing, what you're all about. And now you have to take on that new challenge of we are the team that could win a conference championship. Everybody knows that, and it's just a matter of taking a step forward. The offense shouldn't have any trouble continuing their success. The defense just needs to step up a little bit more. And Washington is going to be a fun team in 2023, a team that could compete for a Pac 12 championship in what is their final season with conference realignment.